folks. I'm Craig Lipinski.
I'm Seth Castellum.
And I'm Chris Dunn.
And you're listening to episode 1 of Ludowave Radio, which is, by any other name, the TV and Less Video Game podcast.
No, we don't say that name anymore.
We
Craig.
don't. That's the curse. We Malibu'd Stacy the shit out of this podcast. We put a new hat on.
Shit, I forgot my hat.
For those new to the show, Chris, Seth, and I, and a few other folks that rotated in and out, used to do a video game podcast years ago. TV and Less Video Game Podcast. It's actually still up on Apple Podcasts, and you don't want to listen to it. That's fine. You don't have
No,
to.
you do not. Can we get those down?
There's like 3 people who still just listen to them on repeat. I think we should leave them up to them.
Is that ASMR?
They probably have them all downloaded.
Oh, they might. Is that who, Craig?
I said, is that ASMR?
Maybe.
It's been 2.5 years since we've done this, and that episode was after a 6-month hiatus. So 1 episode in 3 years. We're doing a really great job.
Nice.
And we just wanted to, rebrand it, start anew. We wanted to rename it something that was more distinctly video game. So somehow we ended up with Ludowave Radio.
Craig
much
bullied
more
us into
recognizable than TV and Lust.
It's got Ludo in it, so I think that's games. I think that's the internet tells me that's Latin for games or something. So I think that works.
Yeah, I looked that up after you're all like, yeah, everybody will know it's games. Like, what the fuck is Ludo?
I didn't know. Listen, dude, I didn't say that. I just said it's more related to games than TV and Lust was. Let's get this straight.
Marginally.
To be fair, that's not a very high bar, but I'll go with it.
Yeah. I'm really nervous about doing this. It's we're veterans, but we got some catching up to do. You just sort of blink, and then there's 500 fucking McElroy podcasts you have to compete with. Just the Brady Bunch of podcasting. So forgive me if I fumble over my words a little bit. But I'm Craig. I'm in my early to mid 30s. I'm really boring. I do marketing for an office technology company, but I actually really like my job because I am in fact boring. To skip to the relevant part of my CV, I'm a game collector. I used to collect anything and everything, and my collection got way too big, so I sold about half of it, and now I focus on Nintendo stuff and handheld stuff. I own the entire N-Gage library, for instance, so I'm an awful human being.
I'm sorry.
It has Catan. You can play Catan on your N-Gage. And just so we make everything abundantly clear, number 1, Looney Tunes sucks. Number 2, cats make better pets than dogs. And number 3, Sonic.
I did not sign up for this.
Sonic the Hedgehog was never good.
I am quitting this podcast already.
I can get on board
Holy
with
shit.
that.
I have no problem being the villain of this show. I'm just going to put it out there up front.
I feel like those were 3 personal attacks on me. Like 40 more of those, and I'm out.
We're keeping
I think
score.
everybody's already heard my dog barking in the background, so you know where I stand.
Yeah, how's your dog doing?
He's good. He's still alive, still barking in the background of podcasts.
Oh, wait,
3 years later.
Way to rub it in, because mine died.
God damn it. I'm sorry, Seth.
Yeah.
This is what happens when we don't do a podcast for 3 years. I say rude things.
It's because we stopped doing the podcast. That's what gave him cancer.
Wow, now I feel even worse. It's my fault.
Well, not yours specifically. I think it's Craig's fault.
I feel no remorse in this.
Well, no, you wouldn't, because it's not a cat.
That's fine.
Keep going.
No, I'm done. Seth, how have you been?
Fantastic. My car died.
Your dog died. This is a country song in the making right now.
Is anyone you know still alive besides us?
I honestly didn't know you guys were still alive until Craig contacted me to do this podcast again. I just figured you two were both dead. No, shit's not been fantastic for me lately. And to help cope, I've started therapy. So that's kind of cool.
Therapy's great, actually. I think everyone should do therapy, whether they're down in the dumps or not.
Here, like, my big thing, I probably should have gone to it years and years ago, but it's can be prohibitively, that's a word, expensive. But there are like
even when you
cost.
have insurance, it's not cheap.
Well, I think mental health stuff's not even covered under all insurances anyway. So
it's generally like specialist stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But there are low-cost options. Like the one I'm doing is through a university, and it's like the students trying to get their doctorates or whatever, you know. But it's all overseen by licensed psychologists through a one-way mirror. So I could like see their shadows moving around back there. I know they're back there.
Oh man. Okay.
No, but it's good. It's good though. It's like it's $10 a session, so like you can't beat that.
Dr. Bumblefuck administers therapy.
My guy's really good. He's cool. I like him.
All right. Well, that's good.
But the downside is that since they are students, they're off for like summer break right now, so I can't see my therapist.
Guess I'll just die.
You laugh, but no. But like honestly, if anybody like feels like they need some help like that, low cost options are a good thing to look up for like in your area. What else happened? I moved houses. I'm in a new place because, like I said, the landlord died. We were at the old house. We were paying $1,900 a month for a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house with like a huge backyard on a canyon. It was like very nice and like very like you can't get prices like that anymore because he hadn't raised rent on us in 10 years. So then he died, and his kids all wanted to sell the house because it's worth like close to $700K. And so I'm in a new place. I'm in a new place.
Do you have a canyon?
Why is everything about people around you dying, Seth?
I think because they meet me and hang out with me, and then they just get depressed as fuck.
I'm starting to regret starting the podcast.
I know. What did we do?
Shh, it's okay. It's okay. You two could stay in. No, but the new place is awesome. There's like a huge like vegetable garden, like a ton of vegetable boxes on the side of the house. So I'm obviously growing a bunch of stuff. My plan is to make some like homemade salsa.
That sounds that is on point. That is terrifically on brand for you, Seth.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I like it. Yeah, Chris, what have you been up to?
I've been going to Disney World, so we can just pick up like it's 2.5 years ago.
How many times have you been to Disney World since the last time we recorded?
Oh, probably like half a dozen times. I don't know. I'm going this month actually for the 4th of July weekend. That is actually not all I do. I actually have gotten a new job. I'm out of the paper cups, paper plates crap and into dog food, so that's exciting, I guess.
You taste test the dog food.
I actually have tasted the dog food. I was at a work party and I had had a couple drinks, so we'll use that as an excuse.
Do you write copy about
bad.
the dog food?
What's that?
Do you have to write copy about the dog food?
I don't write copy, no.
Oh, okay, because you have to eat it if you're going to write about it. That's just what I was thinking.
No, I would absolutely agree with that, but no, it's really good. I mean, I like my job. It's been exciting. I get to do a lot of different things. I've gotten to travel a little bit, so I think it's a big step up from where I was before. That's pretty much the only change in my life. I mean, I haven't moved. I'm still married. I'm still in the same house. I'm still pretty much the same person. Like I said, still going to Disney. So that covers about the last 2.5 years or so.
And we hung out last week.
Yeah, I hung out with you last week. I have met Seth since the last time we recorded. Mm-hmm. I don't remember if we had met the last time we recorded or not, Craig, but we have certainly met since then.
We did.
So.
No, we hung out.
It's just been so long since we recorded and since the last time I had seen you before last week that it's hard to keep it all straight,
Yeah. No,
but,
that's understandable.
No, you guys are cool dudes. And I think I'm the only one who has met both of you. You guys haven't met in person, have you?
No, for all I know, Craig doesn't even exist.
I don't. It's true.
But for all I know, I could be imagining this podcast in my head right now.
Like after one beer? Because I'm saying you're lightweight.
I don't drink beer, Seth. I drink bourbon.
Oh, okay.
It's changed a lot since we started recording this podcast 8 years ago or whatever the hell it was.
You sound classy as fuck with your bourbon over there.
Gonna hear ice cubes clinking. I have a personal question for you, Chris.
Sure.
How much money would you save if you lived in Florida?
I don't even want to think about it. Probably a lot.
Yeah, you should relocate there, man.
Yeah. We have the Disney Vacation Club, and that helps, but yeah, we'd save a hell of a lot of money if we lived down there, especially with the Florida resident passes and stuff. Yeah.
But
I don't want to talk about it.
But then you have to live in Florida, so I could kind of understand why you don't.
Yeah, I don't want to live in Florida. It's too hot. We don't go during the summer anymore, and because it's 100 degrees and 100% humidity all the time. And that sucks because my wife's a teacher, so we can only go at certain times of the year. But
Florida probably needs teachers.
Months, so God damn it, I'm contradicting myself already.
I think we should talk about some video games.
Let's do that.
Sure.
Let's do that. Hey, Seth, what have you been playing lately?
Video games, Craig. No, not too much. Like when I say I moved, I mean has been within the past 2 weeks. I think I've only been fully settled in this house for 2 weeks, and I think my video game systems have only been hooked up for like a week and a half. But how about that Zelda and that Switch?
It's a damn good game.
That Zelda is pretty great.
It's fantastic. It's a good place just to go like exploring it. I mean, I'm sure I can't say anything that hasn't already been said a million times, but I just loved getting lost in Hyrule because it was you just make your own adventures. You pick out places on the map that you've never been before, and you could just set off and you could just do stupid shit.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's different from any Zelda game that's been before, but I mean, that's not to say that Zelda games haven't had exploration. This one just kind of takes it really to the next level. I don't think it's any secret to any of our previous listeners that I was a big fan of Wind Waker, and that's why. It was because that sense of discovery, that sense of exploration, being able to go anywhere you want, and this was just, I mean, a completely different level of that.
Do you know, I remember Craig dissing on Skyward Sword, and I was kind of agreeing with him, but kind of disagreeing with him at points. But no, Skyward Sword's terrible. Craig was right all along.
That was
no, it's like the most hand-holdy. Like honestly, like Breath of the Wild coming off of Skyward Sword is like night and day. It's like completely different game design from the ground up. And I am so thankful for it, because where there was like literally just restrictions everywhere and everything was explained to you, and like you don't even solve shit in that game. Like they tell you how to solve something and then you like just go through the motions. And then for Breath of the Wild just to like throw you out and be like, hey, figure this shit out on yourself, dummy. It's like super refreshing. It just felt so good.
Yeah, it's not only figure this shit out for yourself, it's figure out what you want to figure out. It's literally go in any direction. Go to any dungeon, go to any town, ignore the dungeons if you want to. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was just wonderful and a complete, everything I wanted after Skyward Sword. I enjoyed Skyward Sword, don't get me wrong, and I replayed pretty much all of the Zelda games leading up to Breath of the Wild, and I like Skyward Sword for what it is, but there's definitely a hell of a lot of flaws in there. But Breath of the Wild is pretty much exactly what I wanted, and a lot of things I didn't know I wanted.
I didn't expect a game with this much respect for the player to be coming like out of the Zelda franchise after the last few console entries. So like super pleasantly surprised they knocked that shit out of the park.
One thing that I really like in terms of the exploration is that it's sort of people have already drawn a lot of comparisons to the very first Zelda. But there's this feeling I would frequently get playing the first Zelda, and that's maybe because I was a very young kid. But when you're sort of exploring and you have no idea where you are, because you can go anywhere, you can end up in some far-flung corner of the map, not knowing really how you got there, why you're there, and this sense that you're not supposed to be there. And I frequently got that feeling in Breath of the Wild. I remember it was pretty early on. I was crossing the Lannaru Promenade, and it this feeling came over me like, am I supposed to be here? There's like 7 Lizalfos jumping up out of the water, and then you get to the end of it, and there's a Lionel at the end of that. I just got this distinct feeling like I don't feel like I should be here right now. I liked that feeling. I liked that uncertainty that Breath of the Wild brought back to the series. The series had just become, there's still good entries in recent decades, I guess, but a lot of that uncertainty was removed. I mean, you were always sure that if there's a point on the map, you would end up there, and there's a desert and a forest and a lake or whatever the fuck, and you would go there and you would get some doodad and you go to the next place. And Breath of the Wild just tosses that out the fucking window, and I like that uncertainty. That was a welcome feeling.
The game giving you like all the abilities that you'll have for the entire game right at the beginning is like just a crazy change up as well. You're like pretty much prepared as far as your special abilities go, like right from the beginning, you know?
Yeah.
And they got like really clever with some of that stuff. Like, you know, you're not like disappointed, like, oh, I need to do this thing again. No, they find new ways to throw that at you. And you talking about not supposed to be in places, Craig. The first time I came across the jungle, I was like, holy shit, there's like a jungle. Why is there a jungle in a Zelda game?
Yeah. I actually saw the first time I saw the jungle was from a tower. And I'm like, oh, holy shit, I got to go there. You know, that was kind of a cool feeling because I didn't end up in it. I just saw it from the distance. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. It's surprising.
Mm-hmm. No, I accidentally hit the jungle low. Like I just sort of went over a wall, and then all of a sudden I was like surrounded by trees. So I was like, "Ha!" Want to talk any more about Zelda or no?
Yeah.
I think one thing that the game did really well was, you know, even 100 hours in, it's still fun to explore, even places you've been before. You know, despite the fact that you have all those abilities at the beginning of the game, there's still a sense of progression. You know, you're hitting harder enemies, you're getting better weapons, better armor and stuff. And a lot of games where, you know, there is no linear path, that's not the case. You know, I think of Prince of Persia from 2008, and that game, I was really excited for it, and then it's flat the whole way through. It's just not fun after like the first area. And Zelda, you know, I put 100 hours into it, and I could still play it and have fun.
Oh, yeah, they do a good job leveling up the enemies with you and everything, so it's all good.
I mean, it's great. I mean, I want to say dungeon design, but it's really the shrines. It speaks to just how great the design of those shrines are because, you know, they don't know. The designers don't know which one you're going to hit before another. So every one of those has to be valuable in its own regard. It has to have merit in its own right. Because there is no progression. They can't be harder than one another. They just have to be interesting in their own right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, I mean that. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and they nailed it. They accomplished that.
Yeah, no, that's a huge task for them to undertake, and they did it well. I think Link Between Worlds, I guess, helped them with a little with that as well because you could just sort of head off wherever you wanted in that game. But that was on obviously a much smaller scale. Yeah,
I love A Link Between Worlds, so you won't hear me talking too much trash on it. But I think it also had some of that flatness that Chris was talking about in terms of 2008 Prince of Persia. Because that game was non-linear too. And, you know, I think there was like 4 different areas that you could go to. And they were all just basically the same thing. There was just nothing interesting. There was no uniqueness to each world, so that
I was talking more about the dungeon design being interesting in their own right, but
okay.
Yeah, no, for everything else, yeah. And I have been playing a ton of Pocket Card Jockey. I actually just fairly recently beat it. Have either of you played that?
Yeah.
I have not. I'd like to hear about it.
It's like the stupidest game, and it presents itself as a very stupid game. Like the writing is just like who gives a fuck ridiculous. Like they obviously had really fun just writing all the dialogue and everything. But you play as a jockey who dies right at the beginning of the game due to incompetence, and then you're you die right at the beginning. You're brought back to life by an angel who like grants you. He says that he'll let you race horses better, but like using one of your already obtained skills. And then your dude's just like, I'm sort of good at solitaire, I guess. So then, boom, you play solitaire to race your horses from that point on. And it's a form of solitaire. I can't remember. I think it's called golf. I think like the official name for the solitaire is golf, where like say like you have a 3 ahead of you, and then you could like either go to a 4 or a 2 from there, and you just go consecutively either forward or backwards numerically through the deck, and you just got to hit all the cards that you can before you take another whatever. That's not even the important part. It's just really fun. It's a really fun game. You like level up your horses as you race. You retire them. You breed them. You play over and over until you get like a really good horse that you could win a ton of cups with. And it's just charming as shit and really, really fun.
I'm really bad at it. I feel like maybe I haven't. Because I don't think I've played as much as you. I've played, I don't know, maybe a couple hours of it, 2 or 3 hours of it. I don't know if maybe the game's just you lose over and over again early on until you breed better horses, but I lose a lot. And
I put 46 hours into the game.
Holy shit! No, so am I mistaken? Like you just end up losing a lot in the beginning because you have crap horses. In the beginning. Yeah, no, in the beginning, your horses aren't like, they're kind of low level. Like, even if you play well, you could still lose some races. Yeah.
But even if you just a second generation horse you breed will already start doing better. By like a third generation horse, then you should be like winning the majority of your races. But you also get better at the solitaire. Like even when you lose, like you're still gaining skills in how quickly you could get through the decks and everything. So I feel like it's not completely worthless. And you get like lots of different horses each time you change horses. Like fucking, there's a horse that looks like a dragon, a horse with a pompadour, a nerd horse with glasses. It's all, like I said, it's a very ridiculous game.
Okay, maybe I'll get back into it because I do like it. I actually like it a lot. It was just something that I played infrequently. I would open up my 3DS and I have 160, 70 games downloaded to it. And if I didn't know what to play, I'd play that because just play a couple hands of the solitaire it's not very time consuming.
No, not at all. And that's how I played. I played just broken up and I'll just do 3 races at a time, maybe because they're really fast, probably like 5 minutes or less a race. But yeah, no, I finally beat it, and I think it's a super fantastic game. One of Game Freak's better ones, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's Game Freak. Game Freak developed this.
Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that was Game Freak. That kind of makes me want to check it out.
Yeah, no, it's super. Like, honestly, if you're not like drawn in by the charm, like just after the first intro, just then you have no soul and you're Craig-like.
There's a demo too, so you can download the demo, and your save data carries over from the demo if you buy the retail version. So you can always give it a shot. Download the demo.
Nice.
That's good. That's not something I really expect from Nintendo's demos, so I might check out the demo then.
I'm going to give somebody else a chance to go. That's a smooth transition, right?
That is a smooth transition. I'll go next.
All right.
Since we talked a little bit about Switch, I mean, the thing I've been playing most lately is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which probably everybody has played that because there aren't, a ton of high-profile Switch releases. But, I played Mario Kart 8 back when it released on the Wii U, and I remember that came out, and it was the first HD Mario Kart, and, it was super exciting. And having that on the Switch as a portable system, I think, makes it even better. We talked about, I saw you, Craig, last week. That's one of the things I was playing the most while I was in Connecticut because I had the Switch with me. I was going through and getting the 3-star rankings on the 150cc and then the 200cc, and it's a great thing to have on the go. And I think Mario Kart 8 really is the best game in the series to this point. It's a great mix of the new tracks and the old tracks, and that 200cc is just insane. Like I said, I went through and 3-starred all of the 150cc, and then going over to 200cc, it really feels like a different game. You really need to, have a different perspective of how you're playing it. You actually have to use the brake, whereas, if you go to 50, from 50 to 100 or to 150, you kind of still play the same way. Whereas you play completely differently when you get to 200. It's just so much faster, which obviously that was on the Wii U, but I'm glad to hear that game is getting, has been selling really well and people are getting to play it. Have you guys checked it out since it came to Switch?
Heck yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. How do you feel about the two items, Chris?
I don't mind it. I don't think it's all that much different from how Mario Kart has been in the past, where you could drag one behind you and then you could pick up a second one and have it in your inventory, but you just don't have to drag it behind you now.
Am I crazy, or is the lightning off the charts lightning use off the charts in a Deluxe compared to Vanilla 8?
I don't recall how it was in Vanilla 8, but I have noticed that there has been a ton of lightning when I've been playing it, yeah.
I feel like it's been a lot in Vanilla, too. Like, I remember thinking, like, that lightning was worse than the blue shells, that you're stopped in your tracks, you go slower for a period of time, you lose coins, you lose your item. Fuck lightning. And it goes off like 3 times a race.
And, like, you're going off a jump. You're, like, mid-jump half the time it goes off. So then you lose everything.
Is the worst. That is the worst, and it does happen all the time.
No, the game's great though. I love having it portable. I'm lying though because I never use my Switch portably.
That's all I use it for. I love it portably. The only time I ever use it on a TV is playing multiplayer. And let me say this about the Switch. Nintendo fucks up a lot of stuff, but one cool thing about the Switch is my girlfriend and I, we were staying at her sister's and her brother-in-law's one weekend a little while ago. And I have a Switch, Megan has a Switch, my girlfriend, and her brother-in-law, he has a Switch. And we all have different games installed on it. And if we want to play a different game, when we just sat around drinking coffee playing games, you just pick up a Switch out of the dock and just drop it in. And then you just take the Joy-Cons, slide them in, now they're synced, slide them out, and then you're playing a new game that's on a completely different system like that. 10 seconds. That's it. It's incredible. You can't do that with a PS4.
No, not at all. I'm lying. I have used it portably once. Because when they were doing the Splatoon 2 test fire, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay. One of them was like at noon, which would have been lunch break for me. So I brought my Switch into work and I set it up and I played it with the little kickstand and I played myself some Splatoon at work and it was great.
Do you have one of the Pro controllers for the Switch?
I do. Yeah, absolutely.
Did you play the test fire with the Pro controller?
Yeah, I did. I played it with both the Joy-Cons and the Pro controller.
So I played it, I played it exclusively portably and I fucking hated it. And the Joy-Cons, the Joy-Con controllers are perfectly fine, like 9 times out of 10. But to me, they don't have enough travel to have like fine aiming. It's just like the Vita. They're exactly like the Vita analog sticks. They just don't have enough subtlety to their movement to get the fine aiming down. In Breath of the Wild, I barely noticed it because you could use gyros to fine tune. You can use the big movements with the analog sticks and the fine movements with the gyro, and you get that down, and it's gravy. It's great. But in Splatoon, it's either or. Either using the analog sticks or using the gyro, which I don't understand why you can't do both at the same time. So I was having a hell of a time playing with the Joy-Cons. I didn't like it at all. I'm thinking I might play on the TV with the Pro controller.
Yeah, no, I sucked with the Joy-Cons. I was playing much, much better with the Pro controller.
Okay, that makes me feel less like an idiot.
Yeah, no, I'm with you right there. I'm with you.
Did you play the test fire, Chris?
I did not. I think I was traveling that week out of town for work. I do have a Pro controller, and I really like it. And I definitely you can definitely feel a difference between the Joy-Cons and the Pro controller. For me, what I have played, of Zelda and Mario Kart and a couple demos, I haven't had any problems with the Joy-Cons, but I can certainly see when you need something more precise or with the bigger stick and the bigger space, I could see how that could certainly be an issue. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't had a problem with any other game. I own my physical library is, I don't know, it's got to be like 8 to 10 games already, and I've downloaded a whole mess of games. And I haven't had a problem except for Splatoon. And that's because most games, you're just jamming the analog stick to the furthest point anyway. You're just going straight ahead. With a shooter, you need a little more. You need some fine tuning in the aiming, and I don't think the Joy-Cons give that.
Mario Kart 8 is the first game I played that has the HD rumble. What do you guys think about that thing?
I don't even fucking feel it. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, I haven't noticed much difference from any other rumble that I've had in any of those.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, for me, I can't. Well, it's like whatever. I can't really tell. Except for hitting coins annoys me. Like I can't. I hate the feeling of the coin rumble when you pick up a coin on the track. It's like this little tiny annoying buzz, and I just can't stand it.
That's incredible. I can't tell the difference. I have no idea.
I have never noticed that, but. I will keep an eye out for that, or a handout, I guess, for that.
Yeah, I hope I'm not the only one.
I read all these things saying like how HD Rumble was like this game changer, and it's in like, was it Fast Racing Neo and what is that one? Was that one that's like Wipeout or F-Zero?
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it's in Tumbleseed. Ostensibly, that has HD Rumble. I can't tell the damn difference. It feels the same to me. I'm so glad the controllers are $80 for that HD Rumble that I can't feel. Maybe it's like those high-pitched sounds that only kids can hear or something. Maybe only kids can. Maybe my hands are just degraded over time, and I can't feel HD Rumble. I don't know.
They're just calloused over.
Yeah, just calloused. I can only the strongest of rumbles for me, just full force. I can't. I need one of those old actuators that you strap to your back from like the Genesis days or something.
Oh God,
that's how I feel rumble. That's the only way. I have no idea. What else have you been playing, Chris?
That is the majority of what I've been playing. I played so much Zelda over the past, from when it came out until like the end of April or May. I kind of wanted to take a break from games just because that was how I was spending like all of my free time. So I finished Zelda, and then I've been playing Mario Kart here and there, and then a lot when I was away last weekend. But that's the majority of what I've been playing lately. So what about you, Craig?
I have been playing. I mainly play Overwatch. That has been my jam lately.
Oh, that's the porn game, right?
That is the porn game. That is, yeah. That if that had HD Rumble, boy. I love Overwatch.
I don't think you're supposed to use the controllers like that.
Says who? You can't tell me what to do.
Need a new trans vibrator for that game.
Anyway, I love Overwatch. I'm good at it. And that's not something. Listen, I'm bad at a lot of games. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm good at something just to pat myself on the back. I'm good at the game. I would say I'm in the upper third of players if I had to take a stab in the dark. I love the game, but I fucking hate the people who play it. They're so fucking bad at it. It's so frustrating. It takes this game that I love and just makes it the most agonizing thing in the world. Because you can tell, like after a match. There are 5 categories you can get a medal in, bronze, silver, gold. And it's relative to your team. So if you get a gold medal in eliminations, that means you got the most eliminations on your team. And I routinely get, 2, 3 gold medals, maybe a bronze to round it out, bronze or silver or something. And we still fucking lose. And it's like, well, I did my fucking job. I showed up. How about the rest of you jackasses? Just before we start recording, we're playing a match. And we're doing, I don't know, I don't expect this to mean anything to you, Chris, or maybe you, Seth, but we're doing defense on Hollywood. And I was playing as Diva, and because no one else on my team decided to pick a tank. And I had the golden eliminations. I had like 26 eliminations. I had golden damage. It was like 7,000 damage. And then I had a medal. It wasn't gold, but I had a medal on time on the objective and another medal on objective kills. But again, that wasn't gold either. And I had 2 separate instances of quadruple kill, which means I killed 4 players. There's only 6 on the opposing team. So I killed most of their team twice. We still fucking lost. And my brain melted in my skull. I just can't process it anymore. It's so frustrating. And this is how it is all the time. Like that's not an anecdote. Like that's representative of my experience with Overwatch. And I have friends who say, "Oh, you should play competitive because that's quick play, which is like a casual. That's casual, and you should play competitive, but it's no better." And the problem is, I'm playing on a console. And I don't want to get into a PC console debate. I hate that shit. But the problem with consoles is like no one's using communication. There's no text chat and no one's using a headset. So just people off just doing whatever the fuck they want and you can't talk to them. You can't communicate. And so I think that contributes a lot to losses, unfortunately. But Seth and I actually played Overwatch together. It was free weekend for the anniversary. And I'm kind of – Seth said he had no interest before he played it. But to me, it seemed like he was enjoying himself. What did you think of it, Seth?
Oh, no, it was fun. I didn't think it wasn't going to be. It's interesting. It's interesting to me because when I first started up, they give you a tutorial. And they give you – I think his name is Soldier 76.
Yes.
Is that his name?
Yeah. No, he's just generic FPS bro.
Yeah, so exactly. So he's your tutorial guy, and it's all just very. He could do all the generic first-person Call of Duty things. You could sprint and throw grenades and have a secondary fire on his gun, and that's it. So I was like, oh, okay. So Overwatch is just like any other shooter. But then I started playing around with the different characters. And no, like the buttons are completely different for like every character. Like one button might make a Soldier 76 sprint, but it'll make somebody else like fly, or it'll make somebody else like teleport. And like, oh, okay, so this is not even like consistent between like they're not even like all movement things either. So I like it's more like a fighting game almost to me, where each character is like has very different specials from each other, and yet they're all thrown together into this same arena.
Yeah, that's a good observation. You seem to be getting pretty good at Sombra. You seem to pick up Sombra very quickly.
Oh yeah, I tried tons of people, and I just kept dying and like going, I don't know how to use this person, I don't know how to use it, which is also a thing in fighting games where like certain characters just don't click for you. But yeah, then I hit upon Sombra, and I was doing fairly well with her. And I told you, Craig, I was trying to throw her little teleport ball, get behind somebody, teleport and shoot them from the back. I got one of those kills on purpose.
Oh, that's fantastic.
After you and I were, it felt really good.
That seems like novel to me, because I actually don't see a lot of people pulling that off. I haven't seen that tactic a whole lot. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's not something other people do, but no Sombras try to pull it on me.
She doesn't like have a ton of HP either, so it's good to like run away in a lot of instances, especially when you're up against like a big ass tank or something. She has a lot of runaway options, so I think that's why she worked well for me. Oh,
Chris, and my favorite part of this, Seth and I are playing, and we're silent for a few minutes, and all of a sudden Seth says, "Did my character just speak Spanish?" And so just to put a point on it, Seth, without trying, picked the Spanish character.
Yep.
Oh my God, the Frito Bandito strikes again.
Just drawn to her, I guess. But like you said, Craig, it's like super team based. Like I was not expecting to be as team based as that. There's like no just everybody kills each other. You're always trying to work together towards a common goal. And a lot of the times your teammates are not working towards that goal. Like I was only playing for a couple days. I sucked, and I was getting golds all the time on the for the objective, like staying on the objective or moving the objective or whatever,
Yeah, like I think it's something like what? Like how it was like 30 million people. Like millions of people play Overwatch, and like maybe like 1,000 people are actually on the fucking payload.
Yeah, exactly. But I had a lot of fun. I would when I get to a point where I have more free time, just to waste all my days playing the exact same game over and over. Cough, cough, Craig.
Yeah.
No, I think I could have some fun playing it on a more regular basis.
I put in 175 hours. I had no idea I put that much time into it. But like
Holy
I said,
crap.
I put about 300 into Destiny. So I recently had to replace my PS4 controller. I had two of them. They've been running to the ground. I I put almost 500 hours into just these two games. I guess I can't be too bitter about it. But I didn't expect to like it that much. It was difficult to transition to Destiny from Destiny to Overwatch because I was playing a lot of Destiny before Overwatch came out, and I was like, because when you first start that game, you just die a lot. I mean, some of these characters are really squishy, and they're just one hit kill sometimes, and then you have to wait for the respawn time, and that's like 8 seconds, and then it could be another 10 seconds to run to the objective. So it's like you can get upwards of like 20 seconds of downtime if you die. So I'm like, fuck this game.
Ugh.
And I just kept playing it, and now I love the game, but now I'm just like, fuck the people who play this game.
You definitely made the game more fun, Craig. I was having a lot more fun when I was playing with you.
Oh, good.
Because,
I appreciate that.
like you had my back and shit, which was very helpful.
Well, that's what teammates are supposed to do.
Craig was good enough. So Craig was good enough that he made the game better for you, and you were bad enough that you made the game worse for him.
No, he was good. No, he was good at it.
Yeah, I was doing well. I wasn't like super great, but I could like tell the difference between when I first started playing and when I was playing with Craig. I was definitely doing a lot better.
Yeah, so Seth was playing as Sombra, which is a hacker character, and she's squishy, but she has an Uzi and has a pretty high clip. and she can teleport, she can cloak, and she can hack enemy characters, which takes all their abilities and just locks them. Her ultimate ability is an EMP, which shuts down all abilities in a wide array effect for all enemies, including their ultimates. So Seth was very good at getting behind the enemy, like cloaking and getting behind the enemy and just hacking the shit out of him and shooting him up. He was actually doing what Sombra's supposed to do. And I don't think people get that. I don't think when you pick a character, like you're picking like an archetype. You know, I'm sure that you want to pick a character because they look cool, but you gotta play that role. You're picking a role. Play it or get the fuck off my team. What are you doing here?
Yeah, she reminded me in some ways of Lilith from Borderlands, I think, and I think that's why I was drawn to her because I was really good playing Lilith in the Borderlands games, where I could shoot people up and disappear when I need to get away and like pop up in another spot and shoot them some more. So, yeah, I think I was just naturally drawn to that style.
I don't remember nothing about those games. They were super boring.
They're fun co-op.
That's what I'm told. But anyway.
You'll have friends.
That's one of these days. I'm a recluse. I don't want any friends. That's fine by me. And in addition to Overwatch, I've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn. Which I picked up recently, so it's after the launch. Actually, I bought Prey first, and Prey didn't do it for me. I thought it'd be up my alley because I like BioShock, I like Deus Ex and Dishonored, and it's a lot like those games, but it's too much like those games. I didn't feel like it really did enough on its own, in my opinion. And it sucks because at first, like there was a lot of like varying opinions I was seeing on Twitter from people I follow. But now I've seen the opinions sort of swing very positively, and I see a lot of people very happy with it. I'm sort of jealous that they're enjoying it, and I wasn't. So yeah, I made a bad call, and I ended up trading the game in actually towards Horizon. And now this I like. Have either of you played the more modern Tomb Raiders?
Yeah, I played the first one.
I played the first one too.
Okay, so this is like an open world version of that. Like the controls feel a lot like that. The bow and arrow, the aiming, that it feels a lot like the newer Tomb Raiders. But it's also kind of like Monster Hunter, because as I'm sure you know, there are these giant, well, in some cases giant, but these mechanized creatures. Some of them are big, some of them are more like horse-sized or whatever, and it's a little more actiony than Monster Hunter, but it's similar to Monster Hunter in the regard that like frames count. You know, you can't just go in hacking and slashing. Like if you're in the middle of an animation and a monster comes in and charges you up, your blow is not going to land. So you really have to time your attacks. You have to time your dodges. You can lay down traps. So there's plenty. You can hide. You can lay down traps. There's element types that you can use against the different mechanized creatures. So it's in that regard, it's actually really, really cool. I like it a lot personally. There's some things that it does that are sort of, I guess I wouldn't realize it's not Horizon's fault necessarily. It's just sort of a broader thing, and I think I'm only noticing it now. And there are things like inventory limit. I just don't. I'm starting to feel like that doesn't make a lot of sense in a lot of games. Like in some games, maybe like in a roguelike, maybe it makes sense. Or like Dark Souls, where there's I don't know, where that carries more weight, what you're carrying. You know, that you actually have to make an effort to determine, oh, I need this or I don't need that. That's part of the game's complexity. That's not I'm picking up berries and twigs and shit. Like, that's not part of the complexity of Horizon Zero Dawn. But telling me, you have too many rocks. Who gives a fuck? Like, it does. You know what? It doesn't matter in the year 2017. That is not a gameplay restriction that makes any sense anymore in these big open world games. I don't think, especially when you can just turn around and fast travel and dump something or sell it. It doesn't produce a challenge. It just produces an inconvenience. And to me, like, that's not a good style of challenge. Like, it's not a challenge. It's an inconvenience. Either challenge me or don't. If it's not challenge me, get it the fuck out of the game. Don't do that.
I like the way Zelda handled that with having like unlimited inventory space for like all this shit that doesn't matter, but for, you know, weapons and everything, it had a limited amount because those matter. You need those to survive, and they break, so you need to constantly get new ones. And I think it encourages you experimenting with different weapons and actually trying to survive in the world.
I agree. So, like, all the materials, any material you can pick up in Zelda, resources, you have unlimited number of pages for those. You have 3 pages for meals, but again, that makes you that it comes back to that sort of roguelike mentality where what meals you prepare is important. Like, you have to consider that. And same thing with the weapons. You have to consider what you're carrying. But the game also makes it very easy to upgrade your weapon inventory. It's still limited at the end of the day, even when you upgrade it, but it makes it pretty easy. I mean, those Koroks are everywhere. So it makes it pretty easy to upgrade it. But I still think there's some thoughtfulness in the limitation there. Horizon, or even something like Fallout. Like, oh, now you're walking slow. Like, it's punishing you. Like, it's spite. It's just being spiteful because you picked up a fucking desk fan and now you're carrying 0.5 weight more than you need to. You're like, fuck, I guess I'll drop this chalk. I don't need this afterwards.
Yeah, no, it was a neat novelty, like back in whenever Fallout 3 came out, but it's just annoying after that. That
right, exactly. That's what I mean. At one point, maybe that design made sense. It doesn't anymore. Design something else. Let's move on, So that's frustrating. I mean, Horizon also, they do make it pretty easy to upgrade your stuff, but there's a lot of bags. You got resources, you got weapon satchels, you got outfit satchel, you got all sorts of ammo satchel, potion satchel, trap satchel, and it's like, Jesus Christ, how many of these damn things I got to upgrade? But I mean, the thing is, though, there's still opportunity to like leave the crafting systems in the game. Like, I guess if you had unlimited inventory, it would break the crafting systems a little bit, but you still have to craft your ammo, your arrows, and your traps and stuff. And it does something really cool that I like a lot, actually. When you kill the mechanized enemies, you loot them and you take some of the shit they have on them, like lenses or whatever, canisters and stuff like that. And you can use those in crafting, but you can also use them with merchants. So the currency in the game is shards, like metal shards. But a lot of merchants, when you want higher level stuff, they don't just want shards. They want, on top of the shards, they want some of the other good loot that you got off the monster. So it's actually used not in crafting, but in a bartering system, which I think is pretty cool. So this stuff,
interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, this stuff all still has uses, but like, oh, you're carrying one too many watcher lenses. Like, God, Jesus Christ! I got to drop what I'm doing to figure this shit out.
I like how you just keep calling them enemies when they're obviously Power Ranger Zords.
Yeah, they are kind of like that. And after playing Zelda, I don't want to rag on Horizon too much because, like I said, I actually really do like it. There are a couple of things that just like are frustrating. Like, number one, you can't save wherever. That's another thing. I just don't. This is a giant open world game. I'm a busy man. Why do I gotta go to a fucking bonfire to save? Are you kidding me? And climbing. It's one of those games where the handholds are very specific. Like it's a particular color or something like that. So that's how you know you can climb it. Otherwise, yes, it's
Uncharted climbing.
Yes, exactly. Otherwise, you're just wildly jumping at the geometry, hoping the physics system doesn't push you off. Like that's climbing in Horizon Zero Dawn. So, not being able to save anywhere, the traversal, the climbing, and the inventory limit, that stuff seems all very antiquated. But the Monster Hunter aspects and the stealth and the different abilities that it gives you to take down these creatures is really, really cool. And then there's also human enemies, so you're just sort of like sneaking into bandit camps, which feels a bit like I said, either Fallout or Tomb Raider, where you're sneaking through, pulling off headshots, grabbing dudes and stabbing them in the neck and stuff. So I'm into it.
I think you left out the most important thing, though, Craig. How is the story in the game?
I fucking know. I'm not paying attention. I think it's interesting in terms of how matriarchal it is. It's in the future after some sort of apocalypse, so humanity's in these sort of primitive-ish tribes, and they sort of shun the technology that has been left behind by our future selves. And so the main character, Aloy, finds, it looks like a Bluetooth headset, Bluetooth earpiece, and she calls it her Focus. And it allows you sort of like to track movements and scan things and stuff like that. That's your, future technology thing. But in the future, they worship a goddess called All Mother, and your tribe is matriarchal and stuff. So it's interesting. That I find that pretty cool, and there's a lot of racial diversity too. Because I sort of wonder how important that is in the future. Are we still? I don't know. But humanity's not great. We're racist assholes. So maybe it will matter. But I think the diversity is pretty cool, because I sort of wonder, after the world ends and it's overrun by metal dinosaurs. Is by Zords. Is that you're very welcome. Anything to please you, Seth. It's fine. You have to ask yourself, is that stuff really important? So, it's a really good game.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you're enjoying it. I've wanted to play this, and I was planning on picking it up right when it came out, and then they announced Zelda was coming out, a week later. So, I ended up holding off, and after having played so much Zelda, I was not eager to pick up another, big open world sprawling, single player adventure. So I'll probably pick this up at some point. I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying it despite some hiccups.
Right. I mean, playing it after Zelda if I didn't play Zelda first, the stuff like not being able to save anywhere or the inventory limit.
I'm sure it amplifies some of those issues, having played a game that does not have those issues.
Right. I wouldn't have noticed it as much, but now I'm like, God damn, this is stupid. But it also does enough differently, again, in terms of that Monster Hunter-esque stuff that, I don't feel a ton of burnout on the open world stuff after, playing Zelda first and then playing this so shortly thereafter. I don't feel that burnout that you might think one would feel.
Okay. That's good.
I'll check it out when it's $20.
It'll get there. I'm actually really surprised that Guerrilla developed this. They did their previous. The only thing that's been developed before was Killzone, which is the most hilarious name for a game series of all time.
That's so fucking 2002 name.
And those games are really. But the only Killzones I enjoy were the handheld ones. The Liberation on the PSP. That was like a strategy game or something like that. And Mercenary on the Vita. I actually like that quite a bit too. They had this sort of buying your weapons from a Black Arms dealer as you progress through the levels, which I thought was cool. But the console ones I could never get into. They were just slow and boring. And then Guerrilla made this, and I think they did a great job. It's just very different, and they did a really good job.
Yeah, it's good for Sony to let their studios, do different things. Because obviously, lots of people enjoy the game, and I'm sure it outsold the last Killzone.
I don't know about that, because the last Killzone was
was a launch title, wasn't it?
It was. Even I bought that, and I was like, what hell have I brought? This is terrible. Even I bought that because it was a launch game. So
all right, well, maybe not that, but at least to do something more interesting.
Yes, definitely. Absolutely, yeah, I agree. That's pretty much what I've been playing, dabbling in a few things here and there, but nothing worth talking about. So I guess we want to talk about some news.
Sure. We talked about a whole bunch of games already. So before we move on to some other games, let's talk about Ubisoft's new logo, which they debuted this past week. They've had the same blue swirl gradient logo since, I don't know, the GameCube PS2 era, I think.
Yeah, 2003.
And then 2003. And now they have this monochromatic white or black or whatever color that looks like a stroke in Illustrator that is badly done. But enough about what I think. What do you guys think of this new Ubisoft logo?
I feel like somebody went, our current logo, the one that's good, make the exact same thing but terrible.
Yeah, it's kind of strange how they went. It's like the same thing but just devoid of character.
Yeah, it really is.
I think they're just trying to just make the worst logo possible before Vivendi finally takes them over.
I was just gonna say it looks like all their shares circling down the drain. That's exactly what that logo looks like.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have looked on Twitter, but there have been a lot of people comparing it to things swirling down the drain or shit from an overhead view, and all kinds of stuff like that. And it really is just not a good logo, I think. I mean, they say it's minimalist and modern, but I just think it looks plain, and it looks like it really looks badly designed. I mean, it looks like they accidentally didn't line up, the end of the swirl. Is how it looks to me. I mean, I can't imagine it's accidental, but that's what it looks like, I think.
I think the lines are too complicated to truly be minimalist. I think that's the problem. Like, it would have been fine if they went with a complete overhaul of the swirl and made it minimalist. But it's the same exact swirl, just line art version of it. And to me, it's too busy to be truly like a minimalist design.
Yeah. Just removing the color doesn't make it minimalist.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. No, I'm right with you guys. Ubisoft also announced Far Cry 5 this week, which will be coming in February of next year. This is going to have, you face off against a fanatical doomsday cult. I haven't played any of the Far Cry games, but I think you have, Craig. So what do you think? Did you watch the trailer for this?
I did. I'm actually a really big Far Cry fan. I've never played the first game, and the second game was really hard, so I pieced out of that. You had malaria in that game, and you had to constantly take drugs so you didn't die. Like that was Far Cry 2. But I like Far Cry 3 for Primal. I don't really like Blood Dragon. It was the palette in that game. It's oversaturated neon colors. It made it really difficult to play. But I like modern Far Cry, and I think it's really interesting that they are bringing this to the United States. Because there's a lot of, I should say a lot, but there's some criticism about the exploitation of other cultures in Far Cry games, because you're just some dude who wanders in and just murders everyone who lives there. takes over their houses, and that's what you do. And I guess I don't think you can have a Far Cry game without that kind of exploitation. You have to compartmentalize it. Yes, this is shitty, but it's also fun to bomb their outposts. And that's going to be the same thing, I think, here with this one in America, because, there's probably some exploitation in terms of, like, poor rural folks. I mean, it's a doomsday cult, and certainly the people who run it are, pieces of shit. I think that's what they're going. That's what they're going. Pieces of shit. Right? They're going for that.
I watched the trailer, and that seems like an accurate description.
Right, but I mean, the general Joe Blows that you're going to be shooting at the whole game, they're just probably some poor farmers who live in Montana who got wrapped up in this shit. It's a fucking cult. Like, that's not, you can't blame the average people in it necessarily, and you're shooting at them. So I think it's fair to say that there's still some level of exploitation here, and that's, the rural horror genre is that's a common trope. Deep South or people in Appalachia. Exploiting those people is actually pretty common, and so the thing is, you can't avoid it. It's just, how is Ubisoft going to treat this? How are they going to have a conversation? How's the narrative going to go? Truth is, probably not great, because it's going to be 50 hours of shooting dudes. So I don't think that's going to go well. But at the same time, I give them a little credit, because I think they've tried to be a little more thoughtful about that. You can definitely see a progression from 3, where you're like a dude bro who fucking paraglided into this island and killed everyone. And then 4, where you're actually, of the heritage of the people that you're killing. So I guess that makes it better. I think they definitely put in some effort in 4 to smooth over that narrative dissonance, and I'm kind of curious what they do with 5. But I'm just looking forward to just taking over Outposts, honestly.
Yeah. They haven't revealed anything about the player characters in this game, have they?
No, because you make them. You make your own character. You can choose the race and gender, which I think is really cool. But I think it's sort of a waste if they don't re-record lines, because most Doomsday cults are they're pretty white, especially ones like this. I don't want to inject race into everything. I talked about it with Horizon. I don't want to inject it into everything. But let's be honest, most of these cults they're pretty white. So if you're playing a black dude or a black woman and that doesn't come into play, that seems, it's cool that you can play as a black woman, but it seems like a missed opportunity to have some sort of commentary on that, I think.
Yeah, they're not going to touch that, Craig. You're giving them too much. You're giving them too much credit.
Well, I think it's amazing that they have a doomsday cult, that they just have a bunch of white dudes with a fucked up American flag on the cover. You know, there were already people complaining like this is what Ubisoft thinks of average Americans, and I'm like, you see yourself in a cult? Like, I think this is you. This reflects
Doomsday
you.
Cult doesn't strike me as something that average Americans are into, but maybe I'm out of touch with the average American. You know?
I think
I'm the
Ubisoft's,
liberal elite.
Yeah, I think Ubisoft is going to lengths to show that these are not your average folks. Clearly, there's it looks like a young bride on the cover and an arsenal of weapons, and they're flying their own personal flag over their fucked up American flag. These are bad guys, so I don't think that you should be seeing yourself in the bad guys.
I was hoping I got to play as them.
Yeah, right.
I was like, oh, sweet, I'm going to make myself a cult. Let's see who's going to try to stop me. But no, I guess it's not going to go that route, huh?
I guess not. Given the current political climate, I'm not surprised that people see the Bible, guns, and what looks like an American flag and thinks, oh, these are your friendly neighborhood Americans. But no, it's a cult. I don't. Maybe you should look up, Branch Davidians or Jonestown or something, and see where these things really go before you think this is
someplace good. I hope.
No.
That's spoilers, man.
But I'm into it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. I've never played Far Cry before, but I mean, setting it in the U.S. I think is interesting. I mean, obviously it's not traditional Americans; it's a cult, but I'm interested. I might check it out. Ubisoft also, well, I guess they didn't announce this, but it was leaked, is Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle for Nintendo Switch.
AKA the worst kept secret in the video game industry.
Yeah, I remember we were hearing about this before the frickin' Switch event last fall. I mean, or that trailer. This, I don't know. This looks weird. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen the character art. There's Mario and the characters are Mario, Luigi, Yoshi, and Peach, and then Rabbids dressed as them, and they're all carrying lasers, and it's interesting.
It's the Mario you know and love. What are you talking about? There's Mario with his Mega Man arm cannon, and Luigi with his gun with a vacuum cleaner nozzle on the end of it.
And there's a Rabbid dressed as Peach taking a selfie. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Everything you know and love about the Mushroom Kingdom.
I'm actually open to this game. I made fun of it on Twitter, but the truth is, I am open to it. It could be okay. I just don't understand why it's the Rabbids. Why the Rabbids keep coming? Are the Rabbids really that cool? I feel like the last couple of Rayman games are really awesome. Maybe we get Rayman and Globot. There's a whole cast of characters in Rayman. Why don't we get those guys in here? Why has it got to be the Rabbids?
Yeah, Mario's a platformer, Rayman's a platformer. You can't put those together.
That shit don't mix.
If this was 10 years ago, it would have made more sense.
Yeah, exactly. If it was 10 years ago.
Seriously.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I guess I wouldn't double guess. I wouldn't, think too much about that. But I really think this should be Rayman. I don't know why it's the Rabbids. I don't really like the Rabbids. They're bad. Weren't they bad guys? Wasn't they shooting plungers at them?
Anybody really likes the Rabbids. Certainly not in the year 2017.
The Rabbids were just minions before minions were a thing. They're just these stupid things that scream and talk gibberish. I don't know why everybody loves them.
And early in the Wii's life, I bought Rayman Raving Rabbids. That was their first game. And I thought they're bad guys. I thought you were shooting plungers at them. I mean, they're comical bad guys. They're not real villains or anything. But I don't know how they transition from targets that you shoot at to characters that you team up with in a Mario game.
I know they had their own game too, where you're in a shopping cart trying to find pieces for their spaceship to get back home to a planet that they think they're from or something. So I mean, they definitely starred in their own.
I think they've had a couple. I think they've had there's some deep Rabbid lore that we're missing out on here.
Somebody knows. Somebody's gonna write in angrily. You don't know what the rabbits are doing? No, but it just seems like a bananas team up here.
It really does. I guess we'll just touch on what the game is. It's a Japanese RPG, or it's an RPG. It's going to be largely turn-based combat and some exploration. There's 4 different worlds to explore, which are kind of based on Mario, I believe. And this game is supposed to come out in August or September, although it hasn't officially been announced yet, so maybe that's not true. But again, we've been hearing about this game for almost a year now, so it's probably true. It seems like a weird combination to me, but I'm open when I hear more about it and maybe see some gameplay.
E3.
I'm not going to be completely closed-minded about it, so we'll see what happens at E3.
Yep.
And then just last night, Nintendo released some information about their new online service for Switch, which they are very cleverly calling Nintendo Switch Online.
Wow, that's a good one.
This is like the 3rd or 4th different name for their online service.
Yeah, they had the Wi-Fi connection for Wii and DS, and then they had, Nintendo Network for Wii U and 3DS, and now it's Nintendo Switch Online. And obviously that won't carry over to whatever the next system is because it's got Switch right there in the name. So, but yeah, this was originally supposed to launch in the fall, I believe, and now they're saying 2018. Which will, of course, include online play, which will be paid. Obviously, we can play for free now with Mario Kart and Splatoon and that stuff. But there will be an app for online lobby and voice chat. Most of this is not news. We knew most of this already.
What's that price tag, Chris?
That price tag, $20 a year, which sounds much better than the $60 a year that the other systems are charging.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good that theirs is a little lower, and I think people don't expect Nintendo to have as robust an online infrastructure, so having a lower price is probably good. Hopefully that doesn't mean that, it's a third of the quality, but, I'm in if it's $20 a year. I think
it just connects me to people and I can play with them, I don't really care.
Yeah.
The service also includes they said previously that you would get one free game a month and then they'd be rotated in and out, like an NES game or an SNES game. But apparently now it's an ongoing catalog that'll be added to that you'll have access to.
Yes, yeah, I know that Kotaku had reached out for clarification on that when they put up this information last night, and they did say that it would be ongoing rather than something you only have access to for that month. The games they've announced so far are Super Mario 3, Balloon Fight, and Dr. Mario. So, starting out with those heavy hitters.
Mario
and they're calling this classic game selection. They haven't said whether this is the same as Virtual Console or not. Hopefully there's some kind of Virtual Console thing at some point.
Yeah, I hope it's not the same thing.
Hearing rumors of GameCube Virtual Console months ago, and then that hasn't materialized yet and whatever, but... as somebody who likes classic games, I'm hoping that Virtual Console comes up soon.
I hope the Virtual Console is not like the last 4 systems and is just a giant catalog all at once. That's I mean, that's not, let's be honest, that's not what it's going to be. But I get Nintendo's old mentality, why they trickled that out. It's because they don't want some games to be, swept under the rug and forgotten because of the bigger stuff out there. I think they had a couple of other reasons. They were reasonable, and I get it, but I think we're past that now. That was their rationale for the Wii, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of systems. We've had the Wii, the Wii U, the 3DS. We've had these systems with the Virtual Console already. This is the 4th system with a Virtual Console. Just fucking dump that shit and let us buy it. I'm done with this drip feed of Virtual Console titles. I'll buy them again. I'm a sucker. I'll do it. It's fine. But just let me drop $100 and get me all my fucking games I already own. Let me do that. I want to do it.
If they had a nice storefront where all the games were nicely, advertised and you could browse through them very easily, something modern, even just Netflixy looking where you could buy games from, you wouldn't have to worry about shit getting swept under the rug. Everything would be right there and easily accessible, and people would be able to find what they're looking for, depending on their mood at the time.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I like the 3DS eShop didn't really capitalize on this a lot. But that was a great storefront for just window shopping. I mean, it had really good search tools. Everyone complained about it. I can't find what I'm looking for. Pull up the search, type it in. It's not that fucking hard. It's the same search as everywhere else. I don't understand why you can't find it. You know how a search works? I don't get it. But beyond that, it had a really good like window shopping interface, and that would update like every week with new sales and like, oh, games featuring Luigi or whatever, which is like really stupid because who cares? But if they did that, if they did the games featuring Luigi with other like different characters or different genres and stuff, that like Seth was saying, that would be very good for exploring and finding for people who are just browsing, an existing catalog.
I've bought some stuff off 3DS just because it was on sale. I didn't even know what it was, but I saw it on their little sales list, and I watched a little video, and it looked awesome.
Yeah,
so I bought it.
That window shopping stuff is really, really cool. So I think, yeah, you're right. If they did something like that, like they do with the 3DS, but better for a virtual console that just has a ton of games already in it, you're right. I don't think there'd be a forgotten stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, obviously this stuff has been evolving. They've come a long way since the Wii first came out. You know, the Wii U was better and the 3DS was better. And I mean, even look at, the NES Classic. That had a great interface, and it had, obviously you could buy the system with all those games, and hopefully they realize people want these old games, and, they'll go out and buy them. So I hope we hear about Virtual Console soon.
Could you buy the system, Chris?
Well, some people, if you got it on that as soon as they went up on whatever website they went up on at whatever hour that you had no idea when they were going up, you could buy one. Yeah. I know because I got super lucky when Wario64 posted one on Twitter, but it was very hard to get.
I just want to point out something here real quick in Nintendo's defense, because it's very easy to rag on how difficult it is to find one of those things. They sold 2.5 million fucking consoles in like just a few months. They made a shit ton of them. People just snapped them up super quick. I mean, they made a lot, like 2.5 million in a couple months. That's like a tenth of that's more than a tenth of the Wii U total sales. So I mean, it wasn't that Nintendo made too few. I mean, you can make that argument because demand exceeded supply, but they made a lot. I don't think they really expected it to take off like that. 2.5 million. That's nothing to sneeze at.
No, I think that you absolutely make a good point, but at the same time, I mean, you weren't able to pre-order it or anything. It certainly was not made available in the same way that some systems or games are. So yeah. I think it could have been handled better, but you absolutely make a valid point. It's not like it didn't sell anything. I think they did what they set out to do with it for sure.
Do we have any other news?
That's all I got for news.
Oh, Hori showed that. Speaking of Nintendo Online, Hori showed their Splatoon themed headset for voice chat on Switch. Whenever that smartphone app comes out, and it's a pretty cool headset.
Why are people going crazy about this thing, in a negative way?
Because the headset has a splitter, and one connection goes to your phone for the voice chat, and we already knew that's how the voice chat's going to work. And I feel like people should have already gotten their anger out about that. That's how it's going to work. That's how you and I played Overwatch. You didn't have a PS4 headset, and we use Skype on our phones. I think that's not actually that uncommon. Actually, to that point, people are complaining about this, how voice chat works. But previously in this podcast, I was just complaining about how no one uses their voice chat in Overwatch. So people are complaining about this, how it works, but nobody fucking uses voice chat. I think Nintendo probably looked at usage and looked at the conversations around voice chat on consoles, which are usually like, I'm tired of being yelled at by 12-year-olds, and just went, well, fuck it, this isn't a priority. And this is how they did it. And honestly, I don't blame them. Nobody uses it. No, I bought a $100 Sony PlayStation Gold headset for my PS4, and I've used it all of 5 fucking times. Nobody uses voice chat. But to truly answer your question, people are upset because it splits. The headset splits, and one connection goes to your phone for chat, and another one goes to the Switch to pipe the game audio through your headset. And really, I think the true travesty here is that you're piping the game audio through your chat headset. That's the real fucking problem. Why are you doing that?
Yeah, okay, so a bunch of people are like, oh, so what if I want to play dock? Do I have to get a super long fucking 3.5? No, just don't plug anything in. It'll still come out of your goddamn TV speakers or surround sound speakers around it. You don't need. That's only if you want to play like close and handheld mode.
Yes.
It's not a necessity.
Right.
Your Switch is not going to magically stop putting out sound because you're connected to this device here. No, just don't plug in the other arm.
Yeah, no, but I think some people like having the game audio go through their chat headset while they're talking to people, which I think is atrocious. I actually don't like that at all. I don't know why you want to do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like that'd make it harder to hear what people are saying, but what do I know?
Yeah, that's exactly what it does.
Well, I guess the alternative is just not using voice chat, and I guess that's what they're doing.
Well, this is not an ideal. Obviously, this is not an ideal setup. The ideal setup is that this, lobby and matchmaking and voice chat were all part of the system. That's the way it honestly should be, but it isn't. And like I said, that's probably because Nintendo looked at user behavior and how people talk about voice chat on consoles and went, well, clearly they don't care about this. And then they deprioritize it, and everyone got mad because it's deprioritized. But who's like I have played, like I said, almost 500 hours between Overwatch and Destiny, and in that time I've used my headset like 5 times. People don't use their headsets. It's this is not great, but I think pick your battles.
Yeah, and like the 5 hours I played of Overwatch, I heard one lonely dude talking during that entire time.
That was probably me. Guys, weren't you on the payload?
Yeah. They're like, hey, everybody, how's it going? Just silence because nobody else has a headset.
So there were 4 other times that you used your headset, Craig.
Right. That's basically how it works on console. But yeah, that's all I have to add to news.
Cool.
All right. Should I do the mailbag?
Yeah. I mean, we don't have anything, right? So you're just gonna
No. There's one letter here.
Oh.
It says, Craig, why do you have such a sexy butt? And the name is scribbled out, but I think it says Chris underneath. I think that's from our listener, Chris. No, there's no mailbag.
You had me going for a second there.
Sexy butt.
I'm going to be handling the mailbag on the podcast, so I'm going to need questions and just feedback from our listeners, if we have any. Hopefully, we're going to have some listeners after this episode. And you could write into us on Twitter. You could at Ludowave Radio is our Twitter, and or Facebook, and we're just Ludowave Radio on Facebook as well. And we're gonna be very picky. We're not going to be reading like 5 hours of listener questions anymore. So I'm going to be needing just send in your best. Just send in your best questions and your best feedback, because I'm only going to be taking 2 questions and 1 feedback an episode, and we're going to see how that works out.
And to be clear, the feedback is like someone following up to something that maybe we talked about, so that people can participate in the conversations. Is that what we're aiming for?
Yes, apparently it is. No.
Well, I mean, it could be feedback. People tell me, like, no, Craig, Looney Tunes are great, and that's fine. They can do that too. But.
They can, but you probably won't be selected. But I'll reply to you and be like, yes, that is. We'll become Twitter friends if you do that.
Yeah, Seth is maintaining our social media channel, so you guys have fun with that.
I'm running this thing on the ground. You've made a big mistake trusting me with any of this, Craig.
No, this is great, because if you run into the ground, I don't have to record any more podcast episodes. It's fine.
I'm sorry. Didn't you approach us for this?
I did. That's because you were all mopey about it.
It's all for you, Seth.
It literally is. It literally is.
Oh. Well, now I feel better? ?
This all came about because I was drunk and said, "Ask me anything on Twitter," and somebody was like, "Record a podcast."
Oh well.
And then Seth told us about his depression. Sorry, I just brought it all down
again.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to record again. I don't want to say I felt bad. It wasn't like pity. It was just more like, I was caught up in how busy I was, thinking like, I don't have time for the podcast. I don't want to do the podcast. But I didn't stop to think like what the podcast meant to, you guys. So, when you said that, it was something that you felt like you're really good at and you truly enjoyed, I'm like, I in the past 2.5 years, I hadn't considered that at all. Didn't cross my mind.
Is this really like getting posted, or is this like a Make-A-Wish Foundation thing where you're just like fucking with me right now and just doing this to make me feel good? You're not even recording.
We created a bunch of throwaway Twitter accounts to reply to you too.
Fantastic.
With a bunch of burner accounts.
Thanks, guys. That's making me cry for probably reasons not intended.
Okay, well, do we have anything we want to add to this episode?
You're all 12 of you who have been begging for this for 2.5 years. You're welcome.
Oh my God, I'm so glad to get these people off my nuts. You don't even understand. That's the best part of this podcast right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're moving to every other week recording.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Every other week, and ideally not 2.5 hours. I think we're at about an hour and 15 minutes right now, and that's a pretty good run time. So we'll probably be right around there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's shorter, but not necessarily better. You're welcome.
All right, and
Tell it like it is, Seth.
Do we have anything else?
That's it.
Nope.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the first episode of Ludowave Radio. You can find us on our new home, SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Ludowave Radio, where you can listen, stream, download, subscribe. You can also subscribe to us in Apple Podcasts. Please also rate and review us there. That's good for our visibility and also good for our egos. They're very fragile. And you can subscribe in Stitcher as well. And as Seth said, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Ludowave Radio. Our theme song, Attack of the Purple Panties, is composed exclusively for us by Morning Moon and Mercury. You can find more good stuff at morningmoonandmercury.bandcamp.com. You can find me, Craig, on Twitter and Instagram at TV and Lust on both. Chris, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at @eChrisDunn and on Instagram at @eChrisDunn.
And I'm on Twitter at het_Nikick. That's easy. Just type in Seth Gastel and we'll come up.
All right. Well, take it easy.